At the end of the day, we've had the amazing fortune to live in a city that delivers well many more good days than any other kinds of days. And we live in a city that has given us, in our industry, particular opportunities for tremendous spurts of growth, and then the ability to catch our breath, reevaluate what we've done, strategize on how we're going to keep it going, get a business plan in place, learn some hard lessons, implement those lessons, and move on to bigger and better things. In our town and in life, we have what I call ups and downs. The important thing is that the ups exceed the downs. And one of the thoughts that I had as I was preparing for this is that it's always a buyer's market and it's always a seller's market. It depends on where you are and what your needs are. So we talk about, oh, it's a buyer's market. Well, yes, but then if it's a buyer's market, there's also sellers, and those sellers need to sell. So it's about an opportunistic market. And in Miami, we have a very opportunistic market because it's a city that's doing things. It's a city that's growing. Economically, the city's growing. Our tax base is mushrooming, and that creates opportunities for both buyers and sellers. And let's start talking about downtown. Because when I started selling Miami, I don't know, I was 3 and pacing lots on Brickell Avenue, so I started there. However, it was single-family homes. And really, when you talked about the wealth in Miami, you talked about Miami Beach and the houses in Star Island and the Venetian Island and all of that beautiful part of Miami Beach. But it was a very, very different city with very different opportunities. So now we look at kind of what Miami really looked like then, right? Bay Point, all these beautiful homes on the water. This was kind of the beginning of the city of Miami. If you were, if you couldn't go to the beach, then okay, you came over to the city, but you were gonna hug the water. And that hugging the water hasn't changed much. What has changed much are the values as you hug the water, where these houses that we could buy for a song are now trading in the multi-million dollars. South of 5th is defined as Biscayne Bay, the ocean, Government Cut, and south of 5th is 5th Street when you cross over. So when we started selling that neighborhood, it was very not so lovingly known as either where all the crack addicts lived or where the racetrack was. So when we got there, we're going, this just doesn't sound good when I'm trying to sell these super expensive condos that we're trading for, I don't know, $150,000. Yes, that was then. Now it's trading for somewhere around, on the low side, probably $850 a foot. On the high side, I don't know, pick a number. If you're buying the penthouse at Apogee, $8,000 a foot maybe, whatever you want. At that time, we were sitting there saying, what are we gonna call this thing? And Len Dugo came up with South of 5th. He would be one of the great marketing guys in our city. So theretofore, the birth of South of 5th. So when we started selling this neighborhood, now known as East Edgewater, I went there and I started looking at it, and I said, boy, this reminds me a lot of South of 5th. Why? Because it had clearly defined boundaries. On the east, we had the beautiful bay, which we all know and love. On the north, we had the Julia Tuttle. On the south, we had the Venetian Causeway. And on the west, we had Biscayne Boulevard. Those clear parameters establish a neighborhood, and when parameters are established and neighborhoods are tight, value isn't created. Because it's not sprawling, it can't keep going for another 50 blocks or another 80 blocks. Theretofore, it becomes a neighborhood and a value is established. And I think that this is important when you look around the city to think about where else is that happening. Another great example is Wynwood. So Wynwood is where all those magnificent murals are. It's a very tight neighborhood, it's clearly defined, and it's wonderful because of its art and its creative infusion, if you will, and the fact that it pushes us to see things in ways that they were not created. They reinvent things and they make them work. Therefore, the value in Wynwood. That's why this is a neighborhood that's also exploding. This is Coconut Grove. And Coconut Grove was one of the few neighborhoods that we had in Miami. Because traditionally, Miami was a very small town. And there was no traffic, and it was easy to park. Well, we know it's changed a bit. And the reason we still love it is because our neighborhoods have evolved. And as the neighborhoods evolved, developers went to buy land where it was available, where it was beautiful, and where it was inexpensive. And that was not Coconut Grove. because Coconut Grove was where we already were. So that was the expensive part of the city of Miami, as was the part of Miami Beach around the Fontainebleau. That's where all the buildings were, that's where all the action was. That's not where the cheap, pretty land was available. So in Coconut Grove, this was dormant for a long time. It was expensive, so they went to less expensive areas. As those expensive mushroomed, case in point, Brickell Avenue, case in point, south of 5th, and this cycle emerged, they said, where are we going? All of a sudden, Coconut Grove was not expensive anymore. It had turned into this sleepy little town, and I remember when I started selling the building there, the 2 round buildings, or not round, but the ones that kind of move, Grover Grand Bay. So when we started selling that, I started talking to people, and so I found what I found here today. So many people didn't know what Coconut Grove was. And it was a real aha moment for me when I understood that the city had moved north, and all of those people that had come to the city did not know the south end. So where we started there selling at $600 a square foot, now it's trading for about $1,200 a square foot, and that's happened in 4 years. This is opportunity in a restricted neighborhood that's well defined by boundaries. This is a beautiful shot of Miami Beach, and this is the FINA. When I started working in that area, I was selling a thing called the W, and I would go to that site every day and I would find so I don't know if I can say this in public, but it was a tits and ass bar. Yep, that was what across the street from me. And I was trying to sell that for way too much money to be across from that. So now, when I go to this neighborhood and I see FINA, which was trading for $3,000 a square foot, go figure. No more of that unless you're in their new nightclub, and now it's inside, and it's called a cabaret. So it's a hangout, and it's a heck of a show, so you may want to go check it out. We have evolved. So here's a shot of our beautiful Surfside, which again was a neighborhood that had been overlooked, but to the north we had Val Harbor, and to the south we had south of 5th, and for those of us who observe these things, we know that like bookends that come closer together. And stuff to the north and to the south is more expensive than you are. Get ready, because those values are coming towards you. This is Miami Beach versus the city. Pre-construction average prices and price per square foot. So if you look at that and you look to the left, you'll see what's going on in Miami Beach. So we have Sunny Isles, Val Harbor, Surfside, Midge Beach, South Beach. And you can see there that everything is well over $1,000, $1,300 to $1,800 a square foot. And for me, the revelation in the last couple of months has been that Miami, the city, is very undervalued compared to Miami Beach. So keep that in mind when you're looking at people and they're telling you about Miami's getting so expensive. The reality is that Miami is still offering unbelievable value in unbelievable neighborhoods. And while the market has slowed, it by no means has stopped, because we are selling anywhere from 10 units a month on a project. So this market is still active and alive. You have to look for opportunities. So know your data, know your market, and know that when you are with a buyer, they want to buy. So help them get there.